All right, what we want to start on for our first actual assignment is going to be the idea of how to look at an object. I know that a lot of you have probably already learned how to draw kind of from memory or by just kind of looking at things and interpreting it your own way. But what we want to do is start learning how to look at something with that sort of artist eye and learn how to really see and understand what we're trying to draw. So the main thing that we want to do is learn how to stop drawing what we think we know. The trick to this is going to be learning to override that tendency to interpret our vision and what we're looking at and actually learn how to draw what we actually see. So what we're going to do for our first assignment is going to be called a blind contour drawing. Basically what you're going to do is do the best you can to keep your eye only on what you're drawing and your hand moving to follow your eye. So this is one of those amazing things that once you learn how to do, it allows you to draw almost anything somewhat effortlessly. It'll basically take a little bit of time to develop this ability, but once you do, it'll actually make drawing a lot easier. So what I want you to think about is really just looking at whatever you're going to draw for a while. I've got a little still life set up over here that I'm going to draw from. You don't need to see it. It's kind of boring, but you can choose anything you want. I want you to start with something simple just to get the gist of it, but by the time you're done, I do want you to do a drawing on as large a sheet of paper as you can get, and I want you to just try to take your time and follow along. So again, this is going to be called a blind contour. Ideally, if I had you in class, what we would be doing is setting up to where you had an easel and you had your drawing tablet at approximately shoulder level. You want to be able to kind of move your arm around within the parameters of this comfortably. Basically what you want to do is sort of look at what you're drawing, get that sort of sense of space as it equates. So what I always do is start off with just a arm movement and eye movement to kind of calibrate my eye and my arm together. So then what we want to do is start with probably a Sharpie or any kind of a permanent marker. I find that works the best because when you're drawing at this angle, other pens, what will happen is the ink will flow to the back and you'll not have anything coming out. So these tend to work really well. They still do the same thing, but a lot of times it takes a while to get there. So what I want you to do is really just observe the object that you're drawing. What I have set up here is I guess it's an arrangement of flowers in a weird, looks like a barrel. Anyway, what I want to do is just pick a place and kind of decide where I want to start. I usually start at one of the corners just so that gives me that place to begin. And what you're going to want to do is, I'm going to talk to y'all like you're, elementary, but it works. Look at what you're drawing, and wherever your eye is looking, that starting point, you're going to imagine that there's just a little bug slowly crawling along whatever edge or line you see. And as your eye looks at that slowly, your hand is going to follow along. You don't want to be looking over there and then looking over here and interpreting it. What you want to do is just look at what you're drawing and then keep your eye on that, and your hand learns to follow your eye. And then you'll start off slow, but as you go along, you'll get more and more proficient at this, and it actually becomes such an easy way to draw. You're going to be able to look at pretty much anything and find a way to interpret it. Future projects, we will learn how to take this idea and learn how to do it faster. But for now, I want you to just take your time. Give yourself an hour or so. In class, you'd have a 2-hour drawing to do this. I know none of you will probably do that at home, but I encourage you to take as long and be as methodical as possible. So what I'm going to do is just start down here in the corner. I'm looking at what I'm drawing, and I'm just going to start at this one leaf sticking out. And I'm just going to follow along with my eye. And anytime you see something that sticks out, you can follow around. And then what I usually do is just sort of do little areas as I'm drawing without looking. And it does not matter if it comes out right or not. The whole point of this is to just practice drawing with your eye and your hand following along. Obviously, where I stopped, I'm not lining up quite right, but the line looks honest. What happens is you can tell the difference between a drawing line that someone's looking at an object and whether they're making it up. Especially when y'all start sketching. We don't want to ever be sketchy in this class. We're going to learn to do this first, and then eventually we'll do gesture drawings, and then you'll learn how to make very fluid and believable lines in a very convincing way. But I'm going to just take my time, stop talking for a minute, and try to, get this as accurate as possible. All right, well, that should give you an idea. Obviously, there's, a lot more to do. And I was rushing. I was not taking as much time as I should have. And I'm a bit rusty because it's been about a year since I've done this. But you get a very believable line. And once you learn how to do this, you learn how to do this in a quick way. And, a lot of these areas you'll be able to eventually look at and capture quick. And then you learn to just get the outline of a certain, point of emphasis accurate, and then you can take your time and really just draw one little area. When you have the whole piece of paper, the hardest thing is to slow down and don't feel overwhelmed by how much you've got to do. Eventually, as you practice, and I find putting on some really steady and calm music, it helps me to focus and just take my time, and your eye will just slowly start to learn to follow whatever you're looking at. Eventually, if you practice this, you'll get to where you can fill a whole paper just looking at something. Just occasionally, looking at your paper to kind of see where you're at, realign things. You probably saw that I stopped a few times and I started to just kind of move over to fill in a space or something. But again, this is not about perfection. I don't care how your drawing looks. What I want to see on your final drawing that you turn in, I just want to be able to tell that your hand was actually staying on the page, and I can tell by line quality if you're rushing, if you're taking your time. You can see right here how these lines are a lot more organic, a little bit uncertain, that's because I was going a lot slower. As I got up here, I started going faster. You can tell by these lines right there, I took my time in a little bit. So you tend to find the place where you're, it's like focus almost. You just focus in and you learn to where you're observing and taking your time in your hands following along. I tend to start thinking too much because I know you're watching me, but that should give you an idea what to do. If any of y'all have questions, please contact me and I'll try to clarify it. But other than that, I'm going to post the assignment due date for next Monday by 11:30, and that'll give you, plenty of days to hopefully to get this done. If you want to practice a couple times on your own, that'd be fine. Or if you just want to start the first time. But it's up to you how you want to approach that. Anyway, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next time.